Yeah, so spring practice starts next week for the Hokies, so they're kind of at the back end of the spring schedule as far as ACC teams are concerned. Most teams have already gotten their practices underway. The Hokies wait a little while after their spring break. They give the players an extra week of morning workouts before they move on to spring practice. But like you said, I think quarterback is absolutely the position to watch in spring camp. When you look at a guy like Brenden Motley, he does have the most experience, but he probably does not have the most talent as far as quarterbacks on the roster are concerned. You got a guy there at Dwayne Lawson who came in under Frank Beamer, one of his recruiting classes last year. And when he came into the program, he came in with a guy that we've talked about a couple times, an offensive quality control coach from his high school. That all of a sudden, or he was an offensive coordinator at the high school, was the offensive quality control coach at Virginia Tech last year. So Dwayne Lawson seemed poised to step in and play starting quarterback here. But then, of course, we had the coaching change, so now anything can happen. I think the one thing to watch here with the battle between Evans, Lawson, and Motley is the fact that experience, I don't think, is going to be a huge factor. Like, I don't think Brenden Motley is a guy who's going to have a leg up just because he's played more often at the Division I level. Evans is a guy that's going to come in. He had extremely high levels of success at the junior college level. He's coming in as a 3-star recruit, was one of the top 100 JUCO prospects in the country. And he's a guy that kind of fits the mold of Justin Fuente offense a little bit better. He can roll out and he can really throw the football. And Brenden Motley, he struggled with his accuracy at times last year, but you could always count on him to run when you needed him to run. That was never the issue. So what's really interesting to watch here is what quarterback in camp separates themselves and best fits the mold of what Justin Fuente wants to do in his first year at Virginia Tech. That's what we most want to watch. And for Dwayne Lawson, I think it's a little bit disappointing for him. Not that he's not going to have a shot at the starting quarterback job. He has as good a shot as anybody. The issue with Dwayne Lawson is his eligibility. Last year, he was supposed to be redshirted. Then you get Michael Brewer hurt, and the offensive coaching staff couldn't decide what they wanted to do at the position. So they end up burning Dwayne Lawson's red shirt. He took, I think it was 5 or 6 snaps against Furman in a game that got out of hand, or the game that got out of hand in a hurry. And then all of a sudden, you're thinking, okay, well, Lawson's going to play a lot now that Brewer's out at least 6 or 7 weeks, and they don't know really how confident they are in Brenden Motley. Well, all of a sudden, Motley ends up taking a majority of the snaps. We don't see much of Dwayne Lawson again, and just like that, his red shirt's burned after probably 15 or 20 snaps on the season. It's just extremely disappointing for a Virginia Tech fan when you have a guy who's been as highly touted as Dwayne Lawson was coming out of high school to already burn a season of eligibility when they really didn't have to do so. There was one other quarterback there buried on the depth chart, Chris Durkin. He was a non-factor at the quarterback position. He's now moved to tight end. Calvin Klein, who was a big target for Tech a couple seasons ago, then he got hurt, and then last year he never really got into the fold. Of course, Bucky Hodges emerged the year Calvin Klein was hurt. And once Klein got back, he never really got his feet back under him. So he transferred to Texas A&M. And with backup tight end, and I don't really want to call him a backup because he was a really true tight end on the roster, because Bucky Hodges, we see him split out at receiver more often than not, was Ryan Malik. And he's going on most likely to the NFL. Don't know if he'll be drafted, but he'll definitely be in a camp somewhere next season. So I think Chris Durkin moving from quarterback to tight end just continues that narrative that if you don't work at quarterback at Tech, you're getting moved to tight end, especially if you're a big-time target. And Chris Durkin definitely fits that mold, and he's a guy who's going to fly a little bit under the radar here in the ACC and could become a very successful pass catcher for the Hokies here next season.